This part is like, it's seriously like going up a roller coaster. Click.
It makes your freaking... I can't do roller coasters because it feels like my stomach is gonna come out of my mouth. I don't know.
Exactly, because you're waiting in anticipation and you're like, what am I going to intro this with? How am I going to start this off right? But the best way is to not think about it and just do it.
Just do it.
And I think we're already past it, right?
Just do it.
So we got through it.
Nike, just
Look,
do it.
I spent 30 minutes fucking all anxious about what's the intro going to be? What am I going to say?
Yeah.
And then it just already passed. We got through it. And I didn't even say anything that I had planned to say. So to me, that's kind of a lesson in itself to not overthink shit too much.
Yeah, I think you do overthink a lot of stuff. So,
but how do you turn your brain off?
Well, I think that it's good not to overthink because we're all basically the same. We're all like humans. We all make mistakes. We all like, so it's like, why like not genuinely be yourself and constantly have that overthinking kind of thing where you could just be like, this is how I roll with shit.
Yeah, but what if you don't know exactly how you roll with shit? What if it's forever changing? Like, do you exactly know who you are?
I would like to think so, yeah.
Who are you?
I was going to say I'm a man.
You know?
I am a woman.
A woman. Okay.
And I just, like, I've really stopped caring about what people thought about me, like, since, like, middle school. And, like, I feel like that really helped me to just basically be like, well, I don't... Like, in this, like, stop caring about what people think about me in the sense of, like, oh, she's fucking stupid, or, oh, she's weak. I stopped caring about those things because it's, like, if we become, like, too, like, entranced in these things, like, we'll never be our genuine selves.
But that's what I'm saying. Who is the genuine self? How did you figure that out?
Just by not, like, caring what other people thought about me. Like, really not caring, like, okay, so you think that, like, why do you think that? Like, why do you think I'm stupid? Okay, well, cool. Like, it's like, I know that I am. So it's like, it's basically like being able to, like, laugh at yourself before everyone else can.
So you own it.
Yeah, you just gotta be like, okay, like, you're secure enough in your shit. And it's like, and even if, like, you're not, like, work on those insecurities.
So you...
Like, really work on those insecurities.
You, Claudia...
Yeah.
Have major flaws.
I have major flaws, yes.
Can you tell me a couple of those major flaws?
No.
Come on.
No.
Please. Or just maybe, like, tiptoe around it or something.
No.
No? But I thought you were saying don't take yourself so seriously.
No, yeah, but it's like I'm not willing to, like, basically, like, after the experiences that I've had, like, these past couple of weeks, I'm just very, like, you know, I want to make sure that it's like I have, like, certain things that I'm very guarded with, and those things, like my insecurities and stuff like that, I'm sure people could see those insecurities, you know, but it's like I am not going to, like, go on my own podcast and be like, I'm insecure of all this kind of stuff, when it's like I feel like I don't really.
Do you think that if you express those insecurities that people will immediately turn around and use those against you?
Yes, I do.
But, you know, what if they do? I mean...
Well, I mean, look, if freaking, I'm sure, like, I could tell, like, people's insecurities, right? When you meet someone and you're like, oh, their reaction to this was this. They're insecure about this, and that. I'm sure people could do that. So it's like, that's great, but it's like, I don't want to, like, be on my, you know, it's like.
But is being guarded about it, what I'm just thinking out loud, is being guarded about it, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Maybe both, you know? It's like, I don't know, like, both. Like, obviously, you know, I don't want to freaking get into, like, why I'm into, like, obviously, like, I have insecurities of, like, abandonment, right? Like, that's, like, a true insecurity of mine. Like, I felt abandoned as a kid, and that's an insecurity of mine. So,
but abandoned by who?
by my dad. So like now, like having like these things that you like when you're a kid, you're not like how you are right now where you like learn coping mechanisms. If you're a great adult, you learn these coping mechanisms. So it's like now as an adult, you're like, oh, this is like a gigantic insecurity of mine. How do you fix it? How do you go back and like fix it? So like that you can learn how to cope with like these triggering things, you know? And so that's, I feel like that has always been like a major like one for me, you know, where it's like these abandonment issues, you know. But I mean, I don't want to fucking talk about all my fucking issues.
No. But I mean, basically just using this podcast as a way to talk about things that make us uncomfortable, make both of us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because what else is the purpose of this? I'm not only going to sit here and just talk about all the wonderful things or all the reasons why you should like me or why you should shop at Sew Loka. You know, you kind of already know that. I think if you're going to give us your time, you want to make sure that this is going to be something valuable, that we're going to give you at least we're at least being genuine with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so am I. Like I constantly put myself in a lot of really uncomfortable situations, you know, just to kind of be like to kind of overcome certain things, right? But mainly like you're the only one that's allowed to do that to yourself. Like you're the only one that really is allowed to like really step out of your comfort zone. People aren't allowed to do that for you.
Why?
Because it's like that's pretty like I wouldn't ever be like, hey, I know you hate public speaking. I'm gonna take you to this room and surprise you. You're gonna have to talk in front of all these people. Like that's such a shitty move.
I would hate that, but after I got through it, I might love you again.
But it's like I think that you should do that for yourself. I don't think that people like there's different kind of like this kind of like sense of like love where it's like this really harsh love where you're like, you know, when you know you're kind of like feeling like all like shitty about yourself and they're like, hey, you fucking can't cry, and you're like, what? And you can't cry, it's not gonna fix anything, and it's like very hard like that. Some people, they're really inspired by that. They're like, you're right, I can't cry. And me, I'm not.
Really?
Like, I'm not, like, it doesn't, to me, I'm more like, what? Like, this isn't what I need, you know? And I think that that's why it's important for you to make those decisions for yourself when you're going into, like, trying to step out of your comfort zone. Like, that's for you to, like, really take that and to be like, this is how I'm going to overcome this fear, as opposed to, like, really having another traumatic experience where you're like, and then you're like, dude, I resent this person for fucking doing this, and now I fucking look like a fucking joke.
Yeah. But I mean, traumatic experience, one person's, I think, you know, experience that causes them uncomfort, you know, I do think that it might be in the end worth going through. You know, I just am trying to have this thing for so many years. If I would run away from fucking anything that made me uncomfortable or run away from risk or anything like that. So it's like, if these things are making me uncomfortable, I'm starting to think in my brain that that's where I should be focusing my attention. That's where I should be talking about those things.
Mm-hmm.
I should be bringing those things to the forefront. I shouldn't be fucking just being in just wallowing in comfort all the time because or just in compliments or in positive affirmation or all this shit. Like I don't know. I think that is a trap in itself. You know, it doesn't allow for growth, you know, and right now I've done that for so many years and it's delayed my growth, I felt. So it's like I just need to retrain my brain to fucking charge towards those uncomfortable experiences.
Yes, because it's like if you put in as much time as you put into me to have like these really high expectations of like what I should be, like you should also hold that for yourself.
And I do.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Oh, really? How so? Do tell.
Well, I feel that a lot of the times, like, you know, there's like this very high expectation of like me, you know, like the expectations are very high, and I don't think that it's like there is like that sense of you holding yourself to like that really high expectation. At least from like where I see it, like it doesn't feel like that. So it's like it's good to like cheer people on and to be like you're we're all like rooting for you. That's great, but it also gives like so much pressure to be like, oh fuck, I could let down all these motherfuckers. So it's like it's that feeling of like, if you don't move forward with this, or if this happens or whatever, like you're letting down all these people. So it's like it's really about like, supporting that person, but also holding yourself accountable for like, hey, like I get it, but I also have to hold, if you're going to hold someone up like this, you have to hold yourself up like that.
And I feel like for these past couple of years, like I have time after time after time again been facing these fears of mine.
Yeah.
These things that, basically I'm holding myself up to these standards. This podcast is one example of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like speaking.
Yeah.
I've never liked talking or anything like that, but I force myself every couple of weeks to do this.
Yeah.
I'm holding myself to those standards.
Yeah.
I let go of that corporate job. I dedicated myself to Sew Loka, trying to figure out a creative life. Like, I've held myself to those standards to go through it. And finally, a couple of years later, I'm going to be able to actually be paid for doing something I love.
Yeah. Which is...
So it's like I do feel like I'm holding myself to these standards. Like I put a lot of pressure on you, no doubt, because we're a married couple, we're business owners, we're a fucking team, we're ride or die. So it's like I fucking care. I fucking care. So it's like, but I also do care about myself.
Yeah.
So it's like you're right that there has to be a balance of I can't just be putting pressure on you to succeed when I'm not trying to tackle these goals for myself.
Yeah.
But you have to admit that I am basically trying to face some of these fears, whether it become making a short film or talking in front of people or just trying to do something creatively and not doubt myself.
Yeah.
Like I am doing those things.
I think it's important to talk about like self-doubt, because we talked about that like a couple of days ago, and like I feel that there is like, for me, like there's a whole thing of like, we ran into like, one of our friends, and he was like doing a photo shoot, and I was like, oh my God. And like, and then like you brought it up, and you're like, how does that feel to like see your stuff, like someone's like wearing it and they styled it and they did like this whole thing. And it was really sad that I was like, it kind of makes me feel nervous, and it's like, why does that make you feel nervous, and it's like that sense of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not. So it's like, and that's like a shitty feeling, because it's like, that sucks. Like, it's like I put in a lot of like time and energy and like love and like passion into like everything that I make. So it's like having to like see something out where it gives me like anxiety is like, that's fucking crazy.
So basically you saw somebody, we were out driving yesterday, and then randomly we saw a shirt that you had made, like a one of one piece, the Bugs Bunny shirt that you made out of a blanket or a bed sheet.
Yeah.
And somebody was out there wearing it and doing a video with it.
Yeah.
It's not something that we planned or we asked them to do. This is somebody doing it on their own.
Yeah.
And when you saw that, you're saying that did not make you feel happy.
No, I mean, obviously, yes. But what I'm saying is that there is that like root of anxiety under it, So it's like, where does that come from, and how do you like fix that, And it's like, and that's really been on my mind. Like, where does that come from? How do you fix that? Like, and I'm telling you, like, it's on my mind like a lot, because that is how I end up like basically figuring out like, oh, well, this isn't good, this is good, and and trying to like fix it. Like, where does that anxiety and like that self-doubt come from? So it's like, I think it was like really important to basically talk about self-doubt, because it's like, even like having like a studio and doing all this stuff, and like, having like this successful career and being like, this person where it's like I get to do whatever I want like every day and design whatever I want, and like just basically be like, yay, and why can't I celebrate that moment instead of like having that anxiety, so it's kind of sad, you know, because you're like, hey, I'm like doing all this stuff. So it's like, why is that feeling like that? So it's like, it's really trying to figure that out and be like, where did that start? And how do we fix it? So like that we could really be like, that's amazing. Like you're doing a good job. And, you know,
Because that experience yesterday when you saw that person wearing that shirt, that should have been like top level exhilarating experience. It's like, dude, that's what it's all for. Like,
yeah.
I get to see a fucking.
And it is, you know, it is like that kind of feeling, but it's like, I just don't think that I celebrate things enough or like acknowledge them for what they are.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe because it's like fast, like it's like, oh, cool, next, you know, as opposed to like really like slowing down and being like, oh, you know, I made this and oh my God, all this like, you know, fucking shitty ass shit went into like, you know, it fueled me to like create like this, you know, where it's like it didn't feel, but it's like it was one of those things where it's like, you know what, sewing is like therapeutic for me. I'm gonna put in some time into this and like work it out, you know. And yeah, I feel that I should celebrate those kind of things,
So
you
basically,
know.
going forward, when good things do happen, it's almost like you have to like you have to make yourself celebrate it.
Yeah, I should do like some kind of dance or
Something.
some,
Just remember it
just to
by.
be like, yeah, or like say like some kind of phrase, just because it's like I want to have like this, like I want things that I'm doing to like correlate with like a happy experience. Wow, this is great. You're doing great. Like we did all this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as opposed to like, oh my God, well, am I good enough? Am I good enough to like be this? Am I good enough to, you know? And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And especially you, because it's like had so many fucking great accomplishments throughout your
Yeah.
life, even over the past couple of years. So
Yeah.
it kind of makes me feel a little bit apprehensive to be like, damn, I look at you and I'm being like, oh, you should be the happiest person on earth. And it's like, if you're feeling a little fucking anxious and sad, then it's like, you know, it make you want to achieve all these great things, but you want to make sure that there's happiness tied to it and that it's making you
Yeah.
better and it's making
Yeah.
you.
For the record, I am not sad or anxious. It just kind of like it creates that kind of feeling of like a little bit of the anxiety, but it's mainly like, oh shit, like do I deserve this? Do I deserve this? Do I deserve this? And it's like that's fucking fucked up. Like of course I deserve that. You know, it's like I worked really hard, but it's like really taking the time to be like, I deserve this and more good things because I've worked really hard, you know, and it's like my heart's in the right place. So it's like, I'm going to continue to keep going, you know, but it's like, it's really like even saying that kind of stuff would help me, you know, when something like this experience happens, like to actually like sitting down and having a moment and being like, I deserve this, you know, because it's like I don't think I've ever been like, you deserve fucking the greatest, you know. It's like if we only talked and encouraged ourselves like the way that we encourage others, like we would be doing really well.
And I think that brings us to where we are right now in this
Yeah.
moment in time, where we're kind of realizing that thought and in a transition period ourselves of just refocusing inward
Yeah.
and just trying to strengthen ourselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
taking a break from, you know, we'll always be trying to strengthen others. That's just a part of life. You can't stop people from doing that. But
Yeah.
we are being more conscious
Yeah.
of just really looking inward and trying to strengthen ourselves first.
Exactly. I think I basically had brought it up to you and I was like, we should get away and we should, you know, just as like a weekend. I don't think we've ever had like a weekend like as a family in like years. So it's like I had basically brought that up and I was like, we should get away. We should just kind of go somewhere and like it doesn't have to be anywhere far, but it's like we should just kind of go somewhere, you know. But it is about like it's always good to like take that step back and like every couple of months and basically be like, is this aligning with like where I need to be? Like, what is the goal? Like, what is the goal in all reality? Like, we know what our goal is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know what that goal is for the next year and a half. So it's like, it's really like rechecking yourself and being like, are all these things that I'm doing right now, are they aligned with that vision? You know? And sometimes they are and sometimes they're not, and that's fine, you know. And it's really about like, hey, my whole like purpose in life is to obviously become a better partner, a better mother, like a better, like all those things will just help me become better, like little sub person for anyone that has like an encounter with me, you know. So it's like, it starts with like the foundation of like who we are as like a family, and like who we are as like a business, and our business is our family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like me and you that's running it, and then we are raising a 9-year-old. So it's like, it's really like the decisions that we make as a business really reflects who we are as a family too. You know, our morals are obviously like interlinked together. So, you know, but it's good to check back and kind of like, you know, look at your goals and be like, am I doing like these things?
And what are our goals this summer? Like, what do we want to do?
So there's a lot of stuff where it's like, you know, things that I've been wanting to do that I've done before, where I'm like, oh my God, like I really want to have like sewing circles. Like, how could we get people together to like sew, and like to have a community of people that sew? And like, when I mean, people sewing together, it's like, it could easily be just hanging out, like, you know, hand embroidering, doing something like super non-traditional where it's like people are hanging out, and it becomes something where it's like, people want to feel included in things, and it's like, hey, come hang out, freaking grab a snack, and like, let's sew outside. Like, it's a beautiful day. Like, we all need support in some way or another. And it's like, sewing is like such a therapeutic thing when you're doing it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And for me, like, I've always been like, not a religious person, but it's like, I've always been like, why did God give me like this gift? You know, like, why, no, in all reality, why did I, like, why am I here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why sewing? Like, you know, and really like been talking to my mom, and I'm like, I feel like everything that I went through as like a teenager wasn't in vain. Like, I actually, like, now I'm like, oh shit, like I know what I needed, you know, and I could start to create like these kind of like workshops for kids that were like me, you know what I mean? And be inspired by those things. Like, you know, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've always enjoyed doing arts and crafts. And I feel like that's always like such a kid like kind of like sense of being like, oh my God, you're just free. You
Mm-hmm.
don't care. You're just creating, you know? And I love that kind of energy of like, we get to have a good time and we're all making stuff, you know? And I really want to create these things for like the summer of like having like an experience, like, you know, where it's like, hey, like we want to have a day where everyone in the neighborhood is welcome to come in tie dye. Like, come in tie dye. And then we'll have them ready tomorrow.
So using your skills to build community around
Yeah,
your
to like,
business.
to basically have like these moments of like family time. Like, if there's no dedicated family time for us, we don't have family time. So it's like really having something where it's like, oh crap, like you get to come, you get to like tie dye this thing with your kid, or you know, your cousin or sister or whatever, and it's like you're building like this moment. You know, these moments are like, you get to leave with something that's tangible. Like, you have tied this tie-dye shirt to like laughing with like your sister, you know. And these things like matter, like having like those moments where it's like we're not on the fucking phone, and we're actually like slowing down and having experiences with people that we love.
And it's a different way to connect and build community because, you know, for these past couple of years,
Yeah.
you know, you've kind of taken a role more in like the nonprofit sector, all for Logan, walk the block, everything like that.
Yeah.
But I think what we've come to learn is that we are creative people.
Yeah.
Like, we're not political people. We say fuck a lot. We do stupid shit all the fucking time.
Yeah.
We're not
I can
super
never be a
wonky.
politician.
We hate admin work. We hate fucking all that bullshit. Like, we learned that about ourselves, and we have to be honest about that.
Yeah.
We like creating shit. We like getting messy. We like having fun, and we like building community.
Yeah.
So how can we do that while also realizing, like, accepting our strengths and weaknesses? You know, because we have some very major weaknesses that we're cognizant of, and it's like, well, how do we make sure just to play to our strengths? And because our goal could still be the same. You know, it's just building community, connecting with the people around us. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So how do we do that with our business? And like I said, with the skills you have, the tie-dyeing, the bleaching, the sewing, this is a way to kind of bring people together and have a positive experience around it.
Yeah. And not just that, but it's like we have done like scholarships where it's like, hey, someone in the neighborhood wants to learn how to sew. We basically give lessons for free. We haven't ever advertised that before, you know? So it's like, it's really about like, hey, sewing is a skill. Sewing, it is a skill. It's like, do you know how many people are like short that need their pants hemmed? A shit ton.
If you learn how to sew, you'll never be fucking begging for money.
Yeah, no. And it's like, it's a skill. So it's like, it's really about like the next generation keeping that skill alive to where you could really change that narrative of how slow fashion and this and that. So it's like teaching people, like it's like giving them like this whole entire thing where you're like, look, you could make money off of this thing, and this thing is like a very small investment. Very small. Do you know how many people call to basically ask me like, hey, do you do like custom sewing? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So it's like, but there is, and people always tell me it's very difficult to find someone that sews.
It is.
It's true.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, giving that skill to someone else to where they could be like, oh shit, I could get really creative and make really cool things with this. It doesn't even have to be like you're creating your own stuff. It could really be like starting off by like tailoring people's clothes, making like $100 a week extra, even more, you know. But it's like, it really is about like utilizing this thing and like focusing on it, because it's like we want instant gratification. We think that like, hey, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna sew something and it's gonna be quick and it's gonna be easy, you know. And it's like, it's not easy, but it does allow for us to like be able to sit down, to be patient with ourselves, and to learn a new skill. And I feel that sewing is that skill that everyone should know how to sew. Everyone should know how to put on a button, and people don't know how to do that.
But especially right now, because we feel like slow fashion is only growing. People are becoming more conscious of where their clothes is coming from.
Yeah.
So it's like, as time goes on, more people are going to want to rework thrifted clothing. More people are going to want to create their own clothing. More people are going to want to have this superpower. So it's like, if you start learning now, you will be ahead of the game when this does come.
Yeah.
When people do not want to, you know, they know $9 pair of jeans. Yeah, it sounds good, but they will start thinking about what that means. Whereas before, they never really thought about it because it just wasn't in our consciousness. But things change. We become more conscious of things. So just realizing that that's where fashion is heading, and being able to get these skills now so you can be a part of it too.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it's not just about like, you know, oh, you want to have cool clothes. It's also like such a necessity. It's like, it's a necessity. Like we shouldn't be consuming things because it's like we should be consuming things because we need those things. Not because we want them, but because we need them. Like, all right, your jacket rips. You could fix that. Like, we don't fix anything. Like, we just kind of like, it's broken. We don't try to find that solution for it. So it's like, that as like people has to be like something where it's like, it's really causing for us to be very, very weak. Like, we're not like, oh, I fucking rip this. Like, you can't fix that. Like, that's a basic thing. Like, now you have to like toss this whole entire thing and get a new one.
Because people believe clothing is disposable.
Yeah, because it's like we're not valuing it anymore. Like, because it's like you could go to Ross and get like a shirt for like $4. But it's like that's a shirt that's $4 that's made in like a different country or whatever, and there's not that like person that's actually putting in time. It's like these things are pieceworked. So it's like someone sews this and then someone sews the other side of that shirt and someone sews another side of that shirt. So it's not like if it's you that's sitting and sewing the whole entire shirt. You know, it's like in that's changing where people are more like, hey, you know what? Like I actually want to sit here and I want to make this thing because it gives you like that sense of like, wow, like I made this thing.
But also a very real problem that we have to be realistic about is that people don't want to pay $75 shirts. Like they don't want all of their shirts to be $75. People like that their shirts are $5 because, you know, not everybody can afford a $75 shirt. So it's just wrestling with that thing of like, man, we love that clothing is so cheap because everybody gets clothed. Everybody has clothing.
Yeah.
But then we're also saying that clothing is so cheap because some horrible things that are happening to make it that cheap. So it's like, but will people ever want to pay the right price for a shirt?
Well, I mean, like obviously everyone has totally different budgets, right? Like everyone has like, you know, a different budget. Like some people value something more than others, you know, and that's fine. And maybe it's like prioritizing, like I would rather have this than that, you know, and those things are okay. But I also feel that it's important to at least have a good amount of people that are willing to be like, hey, you know what, like this is like a gift to myself and I work hard and I don't have a lot of these. So it's like, it's really about like appreciating clothing as like your own personal collection, as opposed to having like so much of it that you're just kind of like, I have way too much of it. Like there should be these capsules of like, this is like your freaking, you have 10 pieces or whatever. And this is it, you know, and not like, you know, just adding, you know, it's like really minimizing to like have good things that you're willing to like invest to have them fixed.
And speaking of good things, to kind of transition left a little bit.
Yeah.
You are this month, I don't think we've announced it yet, but you are going to be creating a piece for the Women's Museum, a couple of pieces for the San Diego Women's Museum.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that's another thing that like I've never I haven't even celebrated. But yeah, so they asked me to create like a coat and like bloomers for them, where it's like I love creating basically like pieces that are like very like time, you know, like timepieces where it's like this is, you know, a piece from is it like the 1800s or okay, so it's like the 1800s. So really like researching what kind of fabrics they use, like was because it's like I don't think at that time synthetics were even made, so it's like it's a lot of like cottons, all that kind of stuff. So creating something with like what they had during that time they didn't have zippers, so it's like how do you create something that has buttons, how do you know, all those kind of things. So it's exciting, and I feel like I've always like really enjoyed creating like screen accurate stuff or like time period stuff because it's very specific. Like there's like a roadmap that you could follow, and you could add like your own little kind of like touches of like I would want like this kind of color. But even coloring is very it plays like a huge role because there wasn't a lot of dyes, and so it's really keeping it like very like original and true to that time, which I love. And like just kind of like really immersing myself, and like I'm gonna look at some books, I'm gonna try to like watch videos that people are wearing these kind of costumes, so you could see like a whole like 360 of what they look like when they turn around. How does that drape, what are they wearing under, like what kind of undergarments do they wear, so like that it creates that illusion of like this whole look. So I love that kind of stuff. Like I really really love it.
And we're going to document the whole process of that. We're also going to have our friend Adam from Visual Cachet cinematographer basically capture it as well from beginning to end. So once again, it's going to be the first bloomer ever created, and the first it's a it's a shirt too.
Yeah.
But it's just basically recreating the first one so then it could be placed inside the museum.
Yeah.
And then also the really cool thing is that
Yeah.
they asked you to create a one-on-one piece where you have total creative control.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
will also be in the museum.
Yeah. So that's really exciting because it's like,
That's super
oh,
exciting,
shit.
Claudia. Come on, celebrate that one, please. Come on. I mean, to think even a few years ago that something you made would be inside of a museum,
Yeah.
like that is so far fetched. You were literally fixing holes in people's jeans,
Socks. I've done socks, and I'm like, just get new socks.
You know, so at least I mean that is a huge celebration thing. If we
It
even need to
is.
take a day out to go get a piece of cake or something, and we'll eat it together or whatever.
Yeah.
But that should be.
It is really big. It is really big. And I feel that once I have like the materials and all that kind of stuff to just kind of like start going in there, like I would feel a little bit more where it's like, oh my God, this thing's coming to life and it's exciting. And, but right now it's like, okay, it's like it's been marinating in my mind and like really like, especially the piece that I get to make because I've always felt that being able to bring people that you care about with you like in these experiences is important to me. Like I've always felt like, hey, if you win, like I win. Like, as like a brown community and as like a woman, that's doing these things that is very like, oh shit, like I wouldn't have imagined myself doing this, but we're here, so it's like I really wanted to bring my support system, which is my family, like on this jacket that I'm gonna make. So it's like I'm gonna be asking like my sisters, my aunt, my grandma, and my mom to like give me like pieces of like some other like clothes, like one piece, and for me to like cut it up and add it into like this jacket to where it's like very quilt like jacket. And I'm going to sew other like pieces into it too, that like are obviously going to symbolize me, but basically having them there to also be like, you guys were a part of like this gigantic process too, and it's like utilizing my platform to like elevate like the foundation of who I am, which is the women in my family, so
100%. And
yeah.
Also this month,
Yeah.
we will be having 2 interns in the shop from High Tech High.
Yes, I'm very excited because interns they got me like they're like next. So, which is exciting because we actually are having an intern that's very interested in like fashion and art and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool because they get to kind of like see like the workings of like the studio. And we had like such a good experience. We've always had really good experiences with High Tech High like kids. And so this last one that we had, she was like so freaking good. I was
Shout
like,
out to Mia.
Dude,
Shout
yeah,
out.
I'm like, so she did such a great job that I'm like, I always look forward to like just having like kids around. And I feel that age group is really like I always ask them, I'm like, what's trending at school? They're like, what? But because they like, what are the kids into? Like, what's coming back? And it's like the same stuff that we wore. So then you're like, oh, well, I know how to make it more original because I actually lived through that. So, but it's exciting. And so they'll be here for, I feel like it's a little bit under 4 weeks.
Perfect. And then actually next
Yeah.
month, June, just a reminder that we also have Norma coming
Yeah.
from the shop. She'll be visiting from Guatemala.
Yeah.
She has a business in Guatemala. And so it's just basically this program is paying for her to come here
Yeah.
to San Diego. They pay for her housing, everything like that. And she basically spends time with us in the shop for about a month.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be awesome. We'll tell you more about that in June when she gets here,
Yeah.
introduce you to
Yeah.
Norma and everything like
Yeah.
that. But also this month,
I want to say something about
Yes,
Norma.
go
Okay,
ahead.
so yeah, I'm really excited to basically to have Norma here because obviously she's visiting from Guatemala, and her business, they actually weave like these table runners and like these placemats and stuff like that, and they also utilize a lot of recycled fabrics. And so I was like, wow, that's so freaking cool. But the whole idea of them weaving something, I was like that to me, I'm like, that is amazing and like beautiful and like just another level of like just sewing. Like you're basically creating your own fabric. So I was like, what? So I'm looking forward to like having this amazing experience with her, because I will then have the opportunity to go to Guatemala.
Yes,
So
in
being
September.
able to do that would be awesome, because it's like I would love to learn how to weave my own fabric, and just to kind of like, like I'll dabble into like any creative like stuff, like I'm just a very curious person of like how I could implement that into like my own business.
Because the cool thing about this experience, I mean, we call her an intern, but in reality, she has her own business in
Yeah.
Guatemala. She's very successful in her own right. So for us, we look at this as an experience where we're going to probably more learn from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to do our best to help her, but also I know that we'll learn a lot from her
Yeah.
too.
And also, our first conversation that we ever had, like through Zoom and stuff like that, she's like, "Do you feel comfortable with me speaking Spanish?" And I was like, "Yeah." So this allows for me to like work on my Spanish even more, because, Spanish is my first language, but I don't utilize it on an everyday basis. So being able to learn how to communicate in Spanish is going to be an experience for me. And I feel like like with my mom, I haven't been able to communicate with her like certain things. So it's like, this is just kind of like becoming like this really like, it's going to become a very good experience to go through.
And learning Spanish as well.
Oh,
That's
you're learning
something I
Spanish?
want to. Oh my God, that's what I'm saying. Like I've come to that. Like when I was young, I should have learned it. My mom was very much about teaching us English. She
Yeah.
did not want to. It just wasn't brought up in the house. She
Yeah.
didn't think that we would need it going forward. And then of course I moved to San Diego, and it's like terrible. But I do want to. I want to do it mainly because I want to learn it, because I want to be able to communicate with people. But I also hate that sometimes people have this flex where they will just come around and talk Spanish right in front of me, and they'll know I can't speak it. So they do it as like some kind of like jab. And I'm just like, fuck you. I don't want you to have that jab anymore. I want to fucking do Duolingo, and I'm going to fucking learn Spanish. And then one day I'm going to fucking come back and say all this shit, and you're not going to know that I understood it, and I'm going to fucking speak back to it, and you're going to look so fucking dumb. So that's why I want to learn it. It's totally
I thought you wanted to learn it because you're like, I can't communicate with my mother-in-law.
Well, that too. I mean, yes, that's what I'll tell everybody. But the real reason is for the other fucking thing. I just can't.
But-
I want to learn it because of that. And plus, I just want to communicate. I want to learn. I wish.
I kind of feel sad because I'm not going to be able to be like, family parties be like,
Exactly. You're the
'Cause then-
main culprit. You're the person I'm
because-
talking about. You are the
because
person.
sometimes, like when we have family get-togethers, like body language gives it away that you're talking about someone, so I'll still have good body language, but be like, oh man, he's mad. And then my mom will be like, what?
I know. People love. I mean, they know whenever
He's
somebody
bored,
finds out that I can't speak Spanish, they love talking Spanish in front of me because it's the ultimate flex. And it's like, but that's on me. That's my fault. I allowed that to happen because I haven't put forward the effort to learn it. But now there's Duolingo.
Yeah.
Got no excuse.
And you know what? Like, I actually did it with Ice one night, and she like really grabbed onto it, and I was like, oh shit. And I mean, we could really become like a Spanish speaking household only on certain nights. Like, I speak Spanish. Like, what better way to like practice it?
That's a good way to keep me quiet.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not speaking Spanish, you're not talking. I'm like, oh, fuck.
You can say stuff.
The same 5 words.
Hey.
Yes.
It's just
Thank you.
try.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah. Well, that's good because
Yes.
it's like, Norma will be here and,
Exactly. I'm going to try. Yes, I really
Yeah.
am going to try.
Yeah.
Also, this month, too, lastly, I think the last thing going on this month
Yeah.
is that if you can give us a quick preview into you're making the aprons for
Yeah.
Cafe Moto, which is a
Yeah.
coffee shop right down the block.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So, I've like basically fixed their aprons before and all that kind of stuff. And so they were like, hey, we would really like for you to like make aprons for us because you're here in the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. And so they've have amazing coffee, like really, really good coffee. And
Strong.
A lot of my friends work there, and they support a lot of my friends. So for me, I was like, you know what? Like, I would love to take on this project and like create an apron that, would work for them, where it's like they don't feel like they're like, oh God, like I can't wear this because of whatever. So it's like I did get some feedback from them, but I'm really excited about it because it's like we're utilizing like a canvas fabric, which canvas is like very like durable, and like we want it to be durable. Like we want for it to like, like soften over time as opposed to start really soft and deteriorate very fast. So
Cool.
yeah.
I just wanted to end with a couple of things.
Yeah.
Just to kind of recap of what we did last week, I wanted to show this off. I thought this was a really cool reversible bucket hat that Claudia created. Reversible, see, because here, I don't know if you could do it, but boom, boom, boom. See? Like that.
Oh,
and then you can flip it around.
Yeah.
But
you like this fabric.
I like this fabric. Yes. You
have a whole story behind it.
It was the first fabric that I ever created using Spoon Flower, which is kind of like this app. They let you kind of put a design on it and they print it for you and stuff like that. But it was cool because I think you had requested, like, you wanted me to make you a fabric about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we were going to like some MGMT concert and you wanted something nice to wear.
Yeah.
So I made this fabric.
We weren't going to MGMT.
We weren't.
No.
Oh,
I wore something
shit.
totally different for that.
Fuck, what am I thinking of? Oh, we were going to see, oh my God, that's the whole story. We're going to go see one of my all-time favorite film directors, David Lynch.
Yeah.
We were going to go meet him and shake his hand and everything like that. And so we wanted to really have like a cool outfit.
Yeah.
And this, I created this fabric just basically with him in mind. I used a picture from Twin Peaks and an emoji from Twin Peaks, and I kind of combined it together. And we used this denim fabric to make you a skirt with.
Yeah.
And then we had excess fabric left over, and then that's what we used to make the hat. But I just think it's cool that this fabric was made. I hadn't thought about it in almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you still had like a sheet of it left over. You don't throw anything away.
No, I don't throw anything away.
So
like
that was
anything, sorry. Anything. I don't throw anything away. There's certain things where it's like, this is like a note. I took like a note, like whatever. It depends on what the note is. Because I do have notes from like 15 years ago that I wrote that I was like, I'm going to be, and then like it'll say like something. And I'll be like, yes, I gotta say this, But I keep everything. And for me, like, obviously this fabric was very meaningful because it's like, I remember that night clearly, and I don't throw away fabric. Like, I keep it until like it becomes the very smallest piece. And then even that smaller piece, then we have a specific designated area to see what that could become, and it's just kind of like, I love the colors of it. So I was like, I could do something fun with this.
Yeah. And I just want, because I think with the emoji on there and the colors, people were like, what the fuck is this fabric? So just basically giving it a little bit of backstory that this was originally created as a gift for Claudia.
Yes.
Like, she gave me creative control to make it. And she actually fucking made a skirt out of it and she rocked it. And David Lynch, when we met him.
Yeah.
He commented on your clothes.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He was like, that's a really cool skirt. And I was like, okay.
Mission accomplished.
Like, yeah.
So, and
I was like, you want an up close? But yeah, but I loved the texture of this fabric because it is denim. So it's like, it's nice and thick. And you know how I feel about things. Like, I want them to be able to give, like, for them to work together with some other fabric to give itself structure, because it's like a lot of people, they utilize like interfacing and stuff like that to give like their stuff structure. And for me, I like utilizing fabrics that are going to work like that for the other one. So
because that's heavier, sturdier.
Yeah, it feels like sturdier. It feels well made. It doesn't feel like flimsy or anything like that. So that's what I love. But I did want to say,
yes,
before like we end this kind of the talk, I did want to talk about what I've been working on, like this 10-week project that I've been working on with the Aja project. And
yes.
I feel like this is very inspirational for me to like where it's really leading me to. I feel like I have been really like committing myself to like a lot of things for like the past 2 years, and like really getting to like slow down every Thursday to like teach kids in like the juvenile court system like how to sew, like has inspired me a lot, you know, and like has really like put me like on this like path of like really thinking and like calling my mom and being like, everything that I put you through, it's not it's not in vain. Like it is, like I could relate to these kids, like they are connecting with me, we're connecting, like we're having like these conversations, you know, like we're like I want to become that positive impact in like someone's life that I wish that I had, you know, and I went through like a lot of crazy like shit, you know, and so I want to be able to like be that person that, you know, that they could be like, oh, you know, this person actually like cares about me and actually cares about like how I feel and, you know, these things that I'm going through and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to like, you know, when you're a teenager, you're just kind of like, dude, no one fucking gives a fuck about me and I'm going through like the weirdest phase and, you know, but
If you weren't this rebellious teenager, if you didn't go through all that shit with your mom, you would never be able to connect with them today. That's the thing. So you're not letting that shit that happened back then be something that drags you down. You're like,
yeah.
actually, this is going to be the thing that helps me help others.
Exactly. So for me, I'm like, oh shit, like every Thursday after I leave, I'm like, I leave so inspired, like so inspired because they are motivated and they are the most genuine kids that I've ever worked with. And it's like them like lighting up where it's like you're giving them the opportunity to be like, what's your vision? And they're like, this is my vision. So they bring up like pictures online. They have like their laptops and they bring up these pictures online, and I'm like, all right, with the time that we have today, we won't be able to like make it like that, but we could make it like this and a couple of details that will make it look good. And they're like, I'm down. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I pull out everything. They just they pick out their fabrics, they get all excited about it, and I'm like, all right, cut this from right here to right there, trace this. They're like doing it and they see it come to life.
But did they connect with the idea of sewing right away?
No. So they were, I remember the first day that like we showed up, like I was expecting something totally different. And then I was like, "Oh shit, these are all the kids that like fucking bullied me when I was in high school." So then you're like, "Oh shit, what have I done? I'm going into the lion's den." But it you're I basically went into the class and you're like, oh shit, there's like 15 like kids in this class and they're all like, you know, you could hear the snickers like, what the fuck, we're fucking sewing? Like this is some old lady shit. And I'm like, I'm an old lady and I'm cool. And then they're like, what the hell's wrong with you? You know? So they're just kind of like, they're like, they weren't really like stoked about it in the beginning. And like now they're like, I remember that first day, I had talked to one of the kids and I was like, have you ever sewn before? And he's like, no. I'm like, how did it make you feel? And he's like, really relaxed. And I was like, well, that's good. And he's like, yeah. And so having that kind of like feeling of like once you get into the groove of it, you're just kind of there and it becomes very therapeutic and you could get lost in that, you know? But also reminding them like, hey, you are a beginner, so like allow yourself to make mistakes. It's not as easy as it looks, you know, but I've really, really enjoyed it. Like really enjoyed it.
And you're going to be teaching that class through the summer?
Yeah, so um I believe we're already halfway through our 10-week program, which is really cool because we're actually going to have an open house and we're having an open house. I am hoping that some of them like get really excited and maybe want to collaborate on something together that we could sell so they could raise money for themselves. So I'm kind of like trying to get them to be on board with that. But we're also going to be working with a local photographer too. And she's going to basically go into the class, introduce herself, introduce her like style of photography, and we're hoping that the kids plan out their own photo shoot of them and their work.
Beautiful.
which they would obviously end up planning. They would have like these ideas of like, styling like the photo shoot, all that kind of stuff, and just having like these really awesome pictures for themselves.
Because you're taking them through the entire process of creating, like envisioning something, creating it, photographing it, documenting it, and then posting it out there for the world.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and they've been really, really good in like the class and just kind of like enjoying it, and just you get to like really I basically like sit down in like an area, and I'm like, all right, come to me, and this and that, and some of them they just kind of come and they chit chat, and and I'm like, okay, cool, and it's like you kind of hear some conversations where you're like, don't say that, but they're all like, they're all like awesome, and it's been such an amazing like experience, and I feel like this experience definitely inspired me to like basically like kind of like look at myself and just kind of be like, hey, like this is like the ultimate like wow, like I'm giving back in like this way where it's like this could be like very impactful for them to like start something new, and not just that, but like just having someone there that they could be like, okay, we could have conversations with, and I could tell you what I'm going through, and it's really inspired me to like rethink some of the things that I'm going to be doing this summer. So I was really happy that they were like, would you like to come and teach it again during the summer? And I was like, fuck yeah. And we get to hire one of these kids to teach the class with me.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, we get to interview them in the shop and all that kind of stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So after speaking today, it does seem like there's definitely a lot in not only your life, but our life to definitely be grateful for.
Yeah, because you also have projects coming up too.
Yes, no, 100% with the Aja project as well. Actually, by the open house, which is I think on the 21st, I have to go in there. You guys are writing a script, but basically filming a how-to video.
Yes.
Incorporating the class in it. They're going to basically doing audio, so they'll be recording the audio lines, but then filming a how-to video and then presenting it at the open house.
Yeah.
To share with their families.
It's actually going to be distributed to 23 different schools.
Beautiful.
So they're going to get a kit, and the video is going to explain like what you do with this kit. So it's really, really cool, because it's like they've had a lot of inquiries of like, how could we get you in our school? And they're like, well, we don't have enough people to like divide ourselves between 23 different schools. So how could we pass it on like that? So we're excited about that. So yeah.
So a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And that you deserve to be happy.
Yeah, I am happy.
You definitely deserve. We went through everything. It's grateful. We're ending on a super grateful note.
Yeah, I'm happy. Trust me, I'm not like I'm not
Are you
sad.
okay?
I'm sad. I am not like seriously.
Okay,
I'm not sad or anything like that. I'm actually really grateful, and these moments of like even sadness, like they make you really appreciate those great times that you had, and it's like really slowing down for like, hey, what was the rose in this situation? Remember, Ice was like, the teacher makes them reflect at the end of the day what's like one good thing that happened, and then some people share bad things that happened, but it's like,
what's
the rose and the thorn?
Yes, what's the rose?
What is the rose in the situation? So yeah,
cool. That's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Fucking sewloka.com/podcast, or you can find us on YouTube.
And you could do all your shopping needs 24/7 at sewloka.com.
Exactly.
Or you could come to the shop. You're always welcome to come to the shop, and we're open Wednesday through Sunday.
And we
plan 12 to 5.
From 12 to 5. And we plan to take Skills Pay Bills on the road in the future.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Jeez.